tonight. More vaccines hit the market.
And this is the way we end the pandemic, by getting 70 or 80% of the American people vaccinated.
The latest on the COVID crisis in America. And
more help
is on the way.
The relief plan agreement.
We can finally report what our nation has needed to hear for a very long time.
More on what's in the plan offering help during the pandemic. Plus,
they're simply there to put forth a narrative. They're not acting as news as we once knew it.
Media malpractice and what can be done to stop it. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Millions more vaccines ready to hit the market. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jenna Browder. Tonight, a new variant of the coronavirus has thrown London into lockdown and has caused chaos in Europe. Canada, the latest country to halt passengers' flights from the United Kingdom. This, though, as the United States still allows air travel. CBN White House correspondent Ben Kennedy joins us with the details. Ben?
Well, Jenna, health experts say mutation in any virus is expected, and they do insist that with this strain, it does not appear to be more deadly. A new variant of COVID put the brakes on travel in and out of Britain. Belgium, Italy, and the Netherlands, and now Canada are among other countries banning flights from the UK. France has even shut down the Eurotunnel and the country's main port, which could impact Britain's food supply.
As Prime Minister, it's my duty to take difficult decisions, to do what is right to protect the people of this country.
The U.S. is protecting Americans with the vaccine, and FDA advisory panel voted 20-0 for emergency use of Moderna's version. They did note some people showed minor reactions, but did not identify any safety concerns or reasons to doubt the vaccine.
It's 95% effective, as much as 100% effective at preventing severe disease. And this is the way we end the pandemic, by getting 70 or 80% of the American people vaccinated.
Nearly 8 million doses will be distributed today, 6 million from Moderna and 2 million from Pfizer. Their version is already being given at nearly 600 locations nationwide. The CDC Advisory Committee said frontline healthcare workers and the most vulnerable are first in line to get it, then people over 75, followed by frontline essential workers, including police, firefighters, and teachers.
We are very confident that by June, anyone in America who wants to have a vaccine will have that opportunity to have a vaccine.
Doctors say the vaccine is needed now more than ever, with a record number of COVID patients in the hospital and nearly 250,000 new cases each day in the country. In fact, in California, 1 in 80 residents in Los Angeles County is affected.
There is light at the end of the tunnel. There are now 2 vaccines that are approved. They are incredibly effective and efficacious.
There are now nearly 18 million confirmed cases of COVID right here in the country, and that number is expected to only go up as people continue to travel for Christmas and the New Year's. Jenna?
All right, White House correspondent Ben Kennedy, thank you. Well, a bit of economic relief may finally be in sight as Congress pushes for a $900 billion coronavirus relief package. This after months of gridlock. Senior Washington correspondent Tara Merchiner is here with the latest on what's happening on Capitol Hill.
Jenna, the bill includes assistance for both households and businesses in the way of jobless aid, stimulus checks, and small business loans. If passed, this will be the first step Congress has taken since April to help boost the struggling economy.
We can finally report what our nation has needed to hear for a very long time. More help is on the way.
With Christmas fast approaching, lawmakers scramble to finish the last-minute COVID relief deal aimed at helping struggling Americans like Renee DiCarlo.
Every dollar matters to me. The more they give me, the more ability I'll have to get my life back in order. A little bit at a time, because right now there isn't enough to support myself or my kids.
For many, relief cannot come soon enough. More than 20 million Americans are now on unemployment. 885,000 people filing just last week.
This agreement is far from perfect, but it will deliver emergency relief to a nation in the throes of a genuine emergency.
The plan, which is tied to a larger bill, would also avert another government shutdown. It includes direct checks for qualifying Americans of up to $600, a $300 boost in weekly federal unemployment benefits through March, about $300 billion in aid to small businesses, and billions more for vaccine distribution and schools. Democrats are already saying more aid will be needed from the incoming Biden administration as the pandemic continues to strain the economy.
We consider this a first step, and that, again, more needs to be done.
And President Trump is expected to sign this deal into law. According to the Treasury Secretary, Americans may start seeing checks as early as next week. President-elect Joe Biden is praising the bipartisan spirit behind this legislation. Jenna.
All right. Thank you, Tara. Well, as Washington braces for major changes at the White House, the rest of the country could see major shifts as well. CBN's Jennifer Wishon shows us why we could see moves to squash religious freedom protections put in place by President Trump.
Many Americans celebrate President Trump as the most significant champion for religious freedom in a lifetime. His actions made Christians feel secure, and now secularists, humanists, and others feel empowered to unravel Trump-era protections.
It all goes back to the May 2017 executive order by President Trump.
That day in the Rose Garden, the president used his pen to ensure Christians and other people of faith aren't required to check their beliefs when entering the halls of government, and prevented the federal government from going after pastors who speak about political issues from a moral perspective.
We will not allow people of faith to be targeted, bullied, or silenced anymore.
Now that order tops a long list of Trump administration actions that secular Democrats of America want President-elect Biden to erase. Represented by the Congressional Free Thought Caucus, the group paints Christians as extremists and urges the incoming administration to marginalize people of faith, relegating them to the back pew of the public square. Part of their to-do list, ensure humanist and non-theist chaplains serve in each branch of the military, refrain from using the national motto "In God We Trust," and reframe patriotism by avoiding phrases like God and country.
In order for them to advance this new Democratic Party agenda, which is leftist, which is Marxist at its core, they have to eliminate a vibrant Christian Orthodox faith in America. It stands in their way.
Democrats will also push the incoming administration to amend the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, beginning with the Do No Harm Act, introduced by then-Senator Kamala Harris last year.
That act would gut the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. It would make it inapplicable to cases that involve sexual orientation and gender identity, as well as abortion.
These attempts to marginalize believers come as the media and even elected officials increasingly push the narrative that people of faith are unfit.
Unfortunately, we see that senators are increasingly treating religious beliefs with great suspicion and even hostility.
Demonstrated, Gal says, in the 2017 appeals court hearings of now Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett, when some senators treated her Catholic faith as a disqualifying characteristic.
The dogma lives loudly within you, and that's of concern.
In Barrett's Supreme Court hearings this year, Senator Ben Sasse pushed back against that statement.
Because religious liberty is the fundamental 101 rule in American life, we don't have religious tests. This committee isn't in the business of deciding whether the dogma lives too loudly within someone.
Nothing could be more dangerous for the future of America than to separate America from a vibrant, God-fearing faith of its people that will ensure the tranquility and peace and justice that America so desperately needs.
And Perkins suggests conservatives take a page from the other side's playbook. That means using every legal option available to make efforts to roll back religious freedoms as slow and painful as possible. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
Thank you, Jennifer. Well, in his fight to overturn the election, the president is taking another shot at the Supreme Court. This weekend, his campaign filed suit asking the justices to overturn 3 decisions by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Those rulings ease the state's rules on signature verification, election day observation, and mail-in ballots. A favorable ruling by the High Court could invalidate more than 2 million mail-in ballots. So far, though, the Supreme Court has turned away all the campaign's challenges. A rare cosmic event that will light up the night sky tonight. While some are calling it the Christmas star, experts say that's not the case. Next.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
It's what starts in Israel, then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline, Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back. Well, a rare cosmic event will light up the night sky tonight. While some are calling it the Christmas star, experts say not quite. CBN's Wendy Griffith explains.
December 21st is the winter solstice, the darkest night of the year. And in 2020, Saturn and Jupiter, the 2 largest planets in our solar system, will nearly kiss. The closest the 2 planets have aligned in 800 years. The phenomenon has many talking and even singing about it.
And the Christmas star appears, first time in 800 years. You'll see it next Monday night. Yeah, that's the bright side.
No, seriously, Jupiter and Saturn are going to align by less than 1/10 of a degree in the night sky on December 21st. Last time it happened was March 4th, 1226. It's the Christmas star.
Star of Bethlehem expert Rick Larson says while that's true, you'd have to go all the way back to the Middle Ages to see a closer convergence. It's not going to resemble the Christmas star that led the wise men to the baby Jesus.
What's happening on December 21, simply as beautiful as it is not the Star of Bethlehem. The Star of Bethlehem is a conjunction of Jupiter and Venus. The conjunction, which just means they're coming together visually, was so close that they basically stacked like a figure 8. And so they didn't obscure one another's brightness. And the result was the brightest star anyone alive had ever seen.
The Bible speaks of the star the wise men saw in Matthew chapter 2. And lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. Many Christians believe the Star of Bethlehem was a miraculous sign to mark the birth of Jesus. And while the 2020 star may not be as bright, the fact that such a rare cosmic event is happening so close to Christmas in a year like 2020 is giving many hope that the God of miracles is still shining his light from above. Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
Well, here in Washington, it's Christmas at the Museum of the Bible. And while things are a little different this year because of the pandemic, it is still very festive. We were just there. Take a look. It is a warm welcome the moment you walk in with this amazing Follow the Star exhibit in the museum's Grand Hall. Intricate light sculptures, digital displays, and music all come together in a beautiful retelling of the Christmas story. At the center, this giant Star of David.
What I'm doing is creating a new concept with the idea of harmony and peace.
And backed by popular demand, renowned sculptor Tim Schmalz. His sculpture, The Nativity, just unveiled.
Mary, Joseph, and Jesus together in a way that, although they're distinct individual figures, they complement and harmonize together. A scene of absolute joy and love.
How about a taste of international culture with this Christmas in Malta exhibit? 10 handmade nativity scenes, all crafted in Malta. A centuries-old tradition there, constructing these elaborate landscapes called cribs.
Come see us. We would love for the public to come see the Museum of the Bible.
Museum CEO Harry Hargrave.
We've had over 1,700,000 people come through here over the last 3 years, and of course this year has been truly abbreviated. But we are open. We're open 7 days a week. We were the first museum to reopen, and we're looking forward to seeing a lot of people.
He predicts attendance will be about 25 to 30% of what it normally would be this year because of the pandemic. And of course, the museum is following the government's COVID commandments. That means no large in-person events. Regular visits, though, no problem. In light of the pandemic, the museum has an exhibit dedicated to healthcare workers.
We have an area about early American history where we delve into the work of healthcare and, of course, the biblically based organizations that have also provided healthcare around the world.
Whether it's this exhibit or any of the others, Hargrave wants the museum to be an uplifting place for visitors.
We hope it to be a place of hope, a place of assurance of what the truth is. We think the Bible is the truth. It's a book of encouragement.
And we could all use a little bit more of that this year, certainly. The museum also has a Christmas market, family nights, and other activities. There is more information online. Well, news bias in America. We'll look at that next.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
And ministering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to cbnnewschannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At cbn.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. cbn.com.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
Print and broadcast journalists, comedians, and other entertainers, they all put their own slant on the news. Media bias, though, has long been around. So what is new? It's now risen to a level so pervasive it may have swayed the outcome of the election. Gary Lane has the story.
In this era of fake news and social media censorship, Americans are showing little trust in mainstream media. A Gallup poll taken just prior to the election found that only 9% of those questioned trust the media a great deal. 1/3, 33%, said they don't trust the media at all. Cheryl Atkinson is a veteran journalist, former CBS investigative reporter, and host of the Sunday morning program Full Measure. Her new book is Slanted: How the News Media Taught Us to Love Censorship and Hate Journalism.
They're simply there to put forth a narrative. They're not acting as news as we once knew it or as journalists as we traditionally understood them to be. They're simply trying to forward certain political or corporate interests.
Research psychologist Dr. Robert Epstein believes Google helped shift a minimum of 6 million votes in the 2020 election. The former Psychology Today editor-in-chief says the big tech giant did it by manipulating search results to favor Democrats. Atkinson believes big media influenced the election outcome by playing what she calls the substitution game.
When you know that but for the name being changed to a different party, something would be handled entirely differently, you know that there's a narrative at play or there's somebody trying to manipulate an outcome or public opinion. And I like to ask the question when it comes to the election, how would it have been covered if not for the narrative? How would this have been covered if journalists had approached this from a neutral standpoint? And I think you have a whole different landscape if that had been the case, both building up to this election and what's happened since.
Conservatives argue that Donald Trump's presidency would have proceeded differently had the media not obsessed over Russian campaign collusion. Robert Mueller's 2-year, $32 million investigation put the allegations to rest. But few journalists offered apologies or corrections for false reporting.
This was all mission accomplished on their part. They were not trying to disseminate the actual facts. They were trying to create this air of controversy and chaos for the couple of years that they did. And when it didn't turn out to be true in the end, as perhaps some of them knew all along, they still had accomplished their goal, in my view.
Also, journalists who challenge the dominant media narrative are often ostracized or censored by big tech media. The New York Times labeled Atkinson and others coronavirus doubters for their initial reporting of the COVID-19 virus.
Who knows why they decided to pull certain people out and try to controversialize them so people wouldn't listen to our reporting. I only knew it was completely false, had to hire a lawyer because the New York Times would not take down the false information, and we finally forced corrections that, of course, probably almost nobody saw. But this shows you that there is a big, deep narrative at play, and the New York Times was really on that train from the start.
Print and broadcast journalists aren't the only ones showing bias. Atkinson says comedians and entertainers also put their unique slant on the news.
Strings are being pulled by these, I call them smear artists, and some of them have done interviews with me. They're not just pulling strings on the news and on social media in these very obvious ways and outrageous ways. They're pulling strings on nearly every form of information that crosses our path in daily lives.
So how should news consumers respond as American colleges and universities crank out a new breed of political advocates rather than unbiased journalists? Whether it's news about COVID-19, an uncertain election, or other issues, Atkinson says people need to reject biased reporting and the stigma that comes from expressing alternate views.
When they're trying to make you think that you're the only one who has some crazy view and you're not supposed to think it, you're not supposed to believe that scientific study, whatever it is, know that that's not true. They only win, the propagandists, if you live your life inside the box that I call the internet and social media and the news. Make sure you have this reality check, listen to your cognitive dissonance, listen to your friends and neighbors, and live in the world as it exists, not the one they're trying to create, not this artificial reality.
Gary Lane, CBN News.
snow around America. Still ahead.
Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears. Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com to get your copy today.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Finally tonight, today is the first day of winter, and forecasters are predicting a strong winter storm this week. Heavy rain hitting the west coast today, likely turning to snow across the central plains and Midwest on Wednesday. By Thursday, the east coast will be seeing heavy rain and thunderstorms, and in the northeast, snow on Christmas Day. A white Christmas for many Americans. Well, that's going to do it for Faith Nation tonight. Happy Monday and have a great evening. Thanks for joining us.